The second dimension of the 21st Century Competencies Planning Guide is knowledge construction. Students are constructing knowledge when they apply critical thinking to go beyond knowledge reproduction by generating ideas and understandings that are new to them. Many have referred to the modern world economy as a knowledge economy, in which the possession of knowledge is far less important than the creative uses of knowledge. In this knowledge economy, the development of new knowledge is the greatest driver of innovation. In fact, most living wage jobs today demand content area expertise, but also the ability to apply knowledge to new situations and new problems. Teaching students for mere recall of facts and mastery of procedures therefore seems a narrow outcome for 12 years of schooling. Preparing students with knowledge and the ability to construct further knowledge through critical and applied thinking, what some call deep learning, is a key feature of the Nevada Academic Content Standards and will better position our students as productive contributors to a knowledge economy. The generation or thoughtful creation of new ideas and understandings lies at the heart of knowledge construction. By focusing on the process of creating ideas and carefully considering their value, we can become more skilled at thinking critically and creatively. But how do students thoughtfully create or generate new understandings? And how can we expect our students to regularly come up with new ideas? If knowledge construction is a process by which students generate ideas and understandings, the focus of classroom instruction should be on helping students to learn and experience this process. Learning activities that are higher on the knowledge construction elevator give students more opportunity to construct ideas, connect them to other content, and internalize understandings. Activities that require students to generate ideas typically include one or more of the following. Interpretation. This has to do with drawing inferences beyond the literal meaning. Analysis. This means identifying relationships among the parts of a whole. Synthesis. This involves identifying relationships among two or more ideas. And evaluation. This implies judging the quality, credibility, or importance of data, ideas, or events. Importantly, the generation of new ideas and understandings cannot be achieved by following procedures students already know. When an activity requires students to devise procedures themselves, the activity qualifies as knowledge construction. Our first stop is at level 1, where the activity requires some knowledge construction. An activity requires some knowledge construction when students go beyond reproducing knowledge to generate ideas or understandings new to them. A few things to consider are: most activities that require some knowledge construction ask students to interpret, analyze, synthesize, or evaluate information or ideas. And most activities that require some knowledge construction ask students to devise procedures for conducting their own work. Practicing procedures students already know or following a prescribed set of steps does not qualify as knowledge construction. Let's take a look at this learning activity and decide if the example demonstrates some knowledge construction. Students use details in a story to infer the reasons why a character committed a crime. This is definitely a yes example, because students are using inferences to go beyond the literal information they have collected to construct an argument about why a character behaved a certain way. Here is another learning activity. Students write a paper describing the crime a character committed. Students are merely describing information they have collected. This is not an example of an activity that requires some knowledge construction. Pause the video to see more yes-no examples for this competency level in the guide. Now let's make a stop at level 2, where the activity's primary purpose is that students construct knowledge. An activity's primary purpose is knowledge construction when students go beyond reproducing knowledge to generate ideas or understandings that are new to them, and the main requirement of the activity is the construction of knowledge through interpretation, analysis, synthesis, and/or evaluation. Consider these two important components to determine if an activity's primary purpose is knowledge construction. They include time, where the student is spending the most time generating new ideas or understandings, and effort. Most of a student's effort should be spent on generating new ideas and understandings, and this should be evident in any product of learning. The following actions of the teacher should be considered when determining if an activity's primary purpose is knowledge construction. Coaching students through their development of learning processes rather than providing answers. Incorporating the generation of ideas into expectations and grading. And establishing classroom environments that activate feedback from many different sources. Let's take a close look at a learning activity to determine if it is a yes/no example. Students spend a class period conducting a close read of a scientific article on bear habitats. For homework, students write a paragraph drawing an inference about local bear behavior during the present drought. Is this activity the primary purpose that students construct knowledge? No. Although homework asks students to interpret the article by drawing inferences, the time spent constructing knowledge is minimal compared to the time taken understanding concepts in the article through the close read. Now let's take a look at another learning activity. After previously conducting a close read of a scientific article on bear habitats, students spend 3 class periods preparing for a debate on the topic of local efforts to reduce bear depredations. Yes, this is an excellent example. Most time is spent analyzing bear behavior in the context of local conditions and synthesizing and evaluating information to construct an argument. There is a clear purpose of knowledge construction with this particular activity. Pause the video to see more yes/no examples for this competency level in the guide. As we move towards the top of the elevator guide, we stop at level 3, where students are required to apply their knowledge in a new context. Students apply their knowledge when they use knowledge they have constructed to support another knowledge construction task in a new context. The second task deepens students' understanding of content because they must apply their understanding in a different situation. Students must consider their knowledge and ideas from a different point of view, leading to transfer of learning and abstract thinking. To qualify as a new context, the two contexts must differ substantially from each other. For instance, students who constructed knowledge about the principles of heat by studying the Earth's core might apply this new knowledge to a study of Jupiter. To qualify as an application of knowledge, students should apply knowledge in a different way in the new context. For example, students might write a persuasive essay for an academic audience, then use their constructed knowledge about persuasion to rewrite the article as a newspaper column for a general audience. Let's look at these yes/no learning activities side by side with the drama class and look for the differences. Students in drama class analyze the characters in a play to learn about character development and then write an essay about what they learned. Let's look at the learning activity on the right more closely. Students in drama class analyze the characters in a play to learn about character development, then use a digital camera and video editor to create their own one-act play demonstrating character development. When you look at the learning activity on the left, students do not apply their knowledge from their character analysis to any new task. They simply articulate that knowledge. Whereas on the right, students apply their knowledge from their character analysis to create and develop their own characters. This step requires further interpretation and analysis when they create their movie. Pause the video to see more yes/no examples for this competency level in the guide. We finally reach the very top of the elevator dimension of knowledge construction on level 4, where the learning activity is interdisciplinary. Interdisciplinary learning activities have clear learning goals that incorporate content, ideas, and methods from multiple academic subjects. Things you need to consider are: to qualify as interdisciplinary, the activity must include substantial content, ideas, and/or methods from at least 2 academic disciplines. Assessment processes, including formative processes such as ongoing feedback, should focus on at least 2 academic disciplines. And lastly, clear learning goals from at least 2 academic disciplines should be communicated to students. Importantly, interdisciplinary activities must require students to apply constructed knowledge in new settings in at least 2 academic disciplines. Don't forget, to reach the higher level of competencies, you have to include the lower level competencies. Activities that foster knowledge construction require students to use critical and creative thought processes to generate their own understanding. Allowing students some flexibility in the outcomes of their work and the means they use to develop these outcomes provides them with opportunities to develop and practice the thought processes that lead to the construction of knowledge. Virtually all work in the real world is interdisciplinary, requiring people to blend content knowledge and concepts from many disciplines to develop applications of knowledge in new contexts. Interdisciplinary learning activities therefore provide the greatest scope for students to develop the 21st century competency of knowledge construction in preparation for their entry into an economy in which knowledge is a critical commodity.